Hi everyone, Patrick here, and this is the new monthly challenge for this month. And the theme was draw it again, which means you get an old picture from maybe your childhood or just a few years ago, and we redraw it and see how much you've improved. I think this is a great exercise, especially for new artists, and it's a great visual to kind of see that you are improving and you're getting better. And it's also just a lot of fun to kind of recreate your old pictures. Alright, I'm a bit excited to check these out. There's been some great submissions, so let's dive into it.
Alright, so this is one of mine from a few years ago, more than a few. I didn't really have time this month to do my own revamp, but here is an old comparison from a few years ago. And this is Dutch from Predator, the movie, Arnold Schwarzenegger. But yeah, this is the kind of thing we're looking at here. So, you know, obviously we've got 2008 and to 2012. That's 4 years difference there. And this one here is actually quite interesting because this is when I first started digital art. And yeah, this is 4 years later, and you can kind of see the comparison there. All right, let's dive into yours. I'm excited already. All right, let's do this. So the first up, we got Jonathan, and look at this. This is unreal. I love this so much. All right, so we got before, and this is from 2013. Check it out. So this is your first Leo from back there. Oh, I just noticed you've got all the other hands there from the other Ninja Turtles. That's really cool itself as well. But then look at this. Look, this is today, 2021. This is your redraw of it. Unreal. This is insane. I love the lighting. I love everything about it. That is insane. Man, you've got some talent. So cool. Yeah, I absolutely love that. Really, really cool comparison. Next up is William. I love your work, William. So yeah, let's dive into this. And check out this first one. This is really cool as well. I mean, I like to see the years as well. I'd like to know what the gap is there. But this one is insane. Look at that. That's really cool. And but look at the redo. Look at this. This is just current. And this is insane. I love it. Love this so much. He looks cool. Your style is so schmick. It's very... You actually look like you should be in comics. Like you should be doing this for real. That's the quality that it's at, you know. So I love this. You've got such a cool style. It's very energetic, very loose, and like really nice and cartoony. I love it. And I love the background and the setup, the Nova logo. Like this looks like a real poster, an official one. So well done there, William. That is unreal. And next up is Jordan. I love seeing your stuff too. You've been doing really well. Let's check it out. So this is 2014. This is one of your first ones there. And then we got 2012. Look at that comparison. That is insane. Let's flip it back and forth again. So 2014, 2021. 2014, 2021. That is so cool. Look at this. Look at the setup of this scene and the intensity. Like the perspective is so cool. You've done a great job. That detail is insane. You've really just taken it to that next level. Yeah, this is really cool, man. Awesome, awesome stuff. You've been absolutely killing it lately too, doing heaps of work. So yeah, it's really cool to see you using the same design and everything in there, and you've done it again and in a new style. So that's really cool. Well done, mate. And here we go, another before and after. So, Psy, this is your stuff. So we got before. This is one of your early Batman drawings. This one's really cool in itself. I like that setup. So let's check out the before and after. So it's before, and this is after. Before and after. Look at that. I remember seeing you work on this pose through Discord, and you know, you had a few tips in there and some help. And it was really good to see you, you know, taking on all that stuff and like listen. You're really listening to everyone and taking on some notes. So you've ended up with a really cool thing here. I really like this pose. Very striking. Very nice Batman indeed. That is a great comparison. Next up is Phoenix. Check this out. This is unreal. So 2018, what have we got? 3 years difference. Really, 3 years difference. That's crazy. That's a good drawing there. But from that to this is insane. That's really cool. You've been doing a great job. Let alone this background. I mean, you've got a really nice looking background there. Nice work, mate. That is so cool to see. And I like the character as well. I think you said this was your own creation, didn't you? I think. But from that to this, massive jump. And man, I give you all the respect. That is insane. Dusan. Here we go. So before 2016 to 2021, that's a big jump. That's good. Look at this. So let's zoom in a bit. So this is your early one, which is pretty cool. You got this nice Sparta looking guy, and then yeah, look at this. Look at the comparison there. That is insane. Such a big progression there too. Like you've got so much more detail. If you look at the line work, look how much more precise you are. Whereas here it's a bit more rough and unsure, like the muscles and the anatomy, unsure of where to put the lines, things like that around the biceps, stuff like that. And then now, look at you. You know exactly what you're doing. You know where it all belongs. And he looks really cool. And you've also got a really cool style to it as well. So massive respect. That is awesome. Such a great progression. Can't wait to see some more. All right, next up is Douglas. I like this one. This is so cool. Just because it's so different as well, and it's very artistic. So let's zoom in and have a look. So this is your early one, which is really cool, and you've got this painted kind of look to it. But then you look at this one. Look how nice and crisp this is. It's like super sharp, super clean, and if you could just keep zooming in, and the details just don't end. I love this. I love it. It almost looks like vector as well, which is super sharp. I feel like you could blow this up onto a big poster. That looks great. Look at that. So that is an absolutely insane image, and to be honest, I don't even know what it is, but I love it, and it's so cool. So yeah, great progression there. You are absolutely killing it. So keep it up, Douglas. Love it. Oh, here we go. I really love this, and I can't wait to share it. So. This is Dan, and this is his before from his childhood. He said he was 7 when he drew this. So that's when he was 7. And look now. Look at this. That is insane. Check out that. How cool is that comparison? Like from 7 years old to this. Can you imagine being 7 and then seeing into the future that this is what you will be creating in the future? Like, how cool is this? Now, I love the perspective. It's like really in your face. You've got a lot of foreshortening as well. And it's just adding so much impact to it. And you've got this Triceratops and going up against this carnivore here. Oh, I love this so much. I just saw this dude. That is so cool. I love that expression. And look at the pterodactyl. Check that out. So yeah, I really love this comparison. I want to see that again. So that's your first one there. Oh, you do actually have that guy in the background eating as well. I didn't even see that before. So cool. So that is great to see. I love that so much, Dan. Well done. Next up is Craig, and check it out. We got 3 years difference here. So this is back in 2019, like a Frankenstein kind of dude, which I love. You've got a really cool kind of cartoony style with it as well. And yeah, check it out. We got this new one here. And yeah, much better. You've got a lot more confidence as well, and it's almost a little bit more. You're kind of leaning out of that cartoony, like super cartoony, and going almost to a more of a comic style, realistic, proportions. Yeah, this is really cool. I like it, and you got all this nice detail in the joints and things like that. You got to check that stuff out because here it's very basic, and here, I mean, look at it. It's very articulate. Actually, it looks like it works and it bends. You've got all these little seams, everything. So you're really, you're jumping up big time. This is great. I love it. Thanks, Craig. That's so cool to see. Check this out from Talon. So this is the first one before. And yeah, very artistic, very creative. And then look at it now. Look at this jump in comparison. This is so cool. I could just zoom in. It's so crisp. Like this could be a really nice tattoo as well. You just check out all that detail and the color theme. Like the color choices that you've made are really good. I love them. And it goes right up to this wolf with the three-eyed wolf. So cool. I mean, I'll just zoom out so we can get a full view of that. That is great. I love that. And then you look at the old one here. You had all the ideas you've had since you're way younger, and you've just taken it. Like, look at you. You're just doing so well. That is unreal. All right. Thanks for that, Talon. And next up, we got Jay. Love seeing your stuff too. So this is your before from 2019. And the next one from 2021. I mean, check out, you've got the foreshortening going on. You've got a really cool angle, a bit more interesting. So you've thought about that, and you're like, how am I going to make this way more interesting? And yeah, I just like how you've thought that out. You've really thought about that angle to make it more interesting. And yeah, I just think that's great. You're definitely doing a lot better as well. Next up is Juan, and you've got Psylocke from the X-Men franchise. And yeah, let's have a look at this before one. That's cool. You've got a really cool Psylocke going on. So 2021 now. What have we got? 10 years difference. So that's really cool to see. I love Psylocke. She's a great character as well. So, but if you look at your painted style, you're definitely improving a lot there. So you've got this more cel-shaded kind of look. And whereas back here, it's a lot more smudged, or it's a little, those blurred edges of shading. But yeah, I much prefer the cel-shaded look. So that's really cool to see you progress there. So thanks for your submission. That is cool. That's really cool to see. Awesome stuff. And here's another one from Jazood. And this is Wolverine. So check out your Wolverine from 2013. So there we go. That's that one. And look at you now. You are absolutely killing it. Look at the anatomy. It's so well put together. Like, it looks really cool, really badass as well. And I love all these hairs. You actually, the hairs here are a lot more wild, but here they look a little bit more natural, like they should be. You've got so much more confidence since the last one. I mean, look at this one here, and then look at that. You've got way more confidence. Your line work is so much better, because here it's like pencil thin lines. They're just really thin, and but you have so much more confidence in these ones. Like, you just look how thick they are, nice and bold. They stand out. So you are doing really well there. I love that. That's a really cool comparison. Next up is Camille, and look at this. This is cool. I like that new pose too on the new one there. So this is 2019, so 3 years ago. And this is, I'm not familiar with this character, but I like it nonetheless. I think this is really cool. But this pose is awesome. I really dig that. And that's definitely a big improvement. So, I mean, just look at your line work, for instance. It's very, very thin, not much confidence. And then here, you're a lot more confident. You're using some bolder, kind of thicker lines. And, yeah, it's shaded as well. You've got like almost a cel-shaded look going on. Thanks, Camille. Next up, we got Riptide. And I love seeing your stuff. So check out this comparison, 2018. So there's yours. And look at it now. Look at you. You're flying. You're doing so good. This is unreal. And I like the look at the armor and all that shading and the coloring as well. You're doing such a good job with all that. It's just so nice to look at. You've got a nice way of putting things together. I mean, I like the look at the details here. You really know what you're doing. You're wrapping it around the body. Like, you really know what you're doing with all these details. You've got a lot of confidence in your work. So you are killing it, and I can't wait to see some more. I think this is great. Your progression is awesome. I mean, this one here, it's still pretty good, but it's like you can tell you're starting off there. So you look way more experienced here. So well done. Next up, we got Darren, and here we go, Captain America. I love this scene from the Infinity War. One of my favorites with Cap, and he gets the hammer, Thor's hammer. And yeah, look at your before. So that's your before one right there, and here's your after. You're definitely improving. I mean, look at the details, for instance. So here is a lot more simplified, a little bit more basic, and here you're getting into a lot more detail, especially in the armor. So it's really good to see all that stuff there, especially up in the helmet here. You've got some really nice details going on. So you're heading the right way. You're doing really well, I think. Alexandra, also you like to go by Leo Martins as well. This is a really cool comparison. So you got 2017 here. Very, very cartoony, simplistic style going on there. And then, yeah, look at you now in 2021. You're doing really well. Almost a Nickelodeon or Cartoon Network kind of style. And then you've jumped to this, more of a comic look. I could see this in a comic book, this dude. So that's a big jump, big difference there. I really like that. Well done, mate. So next up is Alex. And I love a bit of Red Dead. Love my Red Dead. I play it all the time. All right, so we got before and after. Look at that. So much more colorful. Just like the game. The game is so beautiful, and you've got all those beautiful landscapes, and you've really shown that off here. A lot of nice textures going on as well. So there's before. and after. So yeah, I really dig that. I think you've done a great job. So colourful, really nice to see. I like the painted look to it. You've got some really nice details going on through here. So well done for that one. Okay, now for the critiques. So this is Brett's submission, and check it out. Really cool to see here, this comparison. You've got 6 years difference. So back in the day, there you go. You've done this one here. And yeah, this is your new one. A lot more confident. Look at that. You got some really strong line work going on there. Very clear to see. Like if you just zoom out, you can see the clarity in it. So this one almost looks a bit more, yeah, like penciled in, or a bit more, it's just faint in some way. And then this one is like popping out. You know, it's very strong. It's very well held together as well. So I think that's a great comparison. I think that's great. Well done. Awesome stuff. So let's dive into the critique a bit here on this one. Now, I remember I already critiqued you kind of through Discord, so because sometimes I like to help people in there when they put their picture in and they ask for some advice. So this is the only file I had saved on my desktop, but this is what I ended up fixing for you. That red, anything in the red there was adjusted. I remember it was over this way a lot more. You had the body and everything. I think I just warped it over to the left more, and the knee and I said show the back leg and stuff like that. So you did a great job. Just by looking at it, I can tell you've like fixed the head a bit more. It looks a lot more energetic and cartoony as well. So I think that's bloody awesome. Awesome work. This one just has a couple of little issues. I would probably say mainly with the fist. You should definitely have that popping out more like this way. So the thumb would probably be more like there. But I think it's this muscle around here is way too big. So I think one of the main slight faults with your work is that let me just show you. The muscle tones are a little bit too intense. So if you look here on the leg, all these the bulging, it's almost ballooned together, and it can be a little bit too intense, a bit too much. Now it's good in some areas. I mean, I know in Dragon Ball Z they do it quite intense like this, so it does work. But I think personally, this is just my personal opinion. I think it can be a bit too much. So what I've tried to do is tone it down a bit. So if I just show you without yours in the back there, so here it is here. So you can see what I've kind of done. I'll just kind of fade that. I'll fade it back just a bit so you can see. There we go. Right, so you can kind of tell I've just got more simplified lines, whereas the other one is like all these bulges. All the bulges here and these extra lines and things, and that bicep was a little bit too big, so I've thinned that out to slim him up a little bit. And this back shoulder is the main issue. If I just show you the before, so it's like 1, 2, 3 that's all kind of ballooned together, that the toned muscle part. So what I've done is I've just made it one single shoulder, so because sometimes the simpler the better. So if you just simplify it a little bit more, and that shoulder was too big before, so it's really big. It's almost as big as this one here, and that should be further away and smaller. So I just kind of fixed that up, and yeah, so the simpler the better. Even through the abs, I've just gone one. It's very rough. I did it from a distance, so it's a bit jaggedy with the Photoshop brush. I hate the Photoshop brushes. I always go Clip Studio, and yeah, so I've just gone 1, 2, like a couple of lines, rather than just too much, as there's too many little details that come up here. Whereas if you simplify it, sometimes it can just look a lot better and a lot simpler and easier on the eye as well. Plus you can have more room for your details on the lightning around the belt and stuff like that. Like if you go less ab details and muscles, you'll be able to focus more on the suit details and bring them out a little bit more. But yeah, with the leg here especially, remember before I showed you, so you had all those extra lines. You don't really need all that. Just have it can resemble that there are muscles there, but it's more smoothed out. So the skin is not so super ripped. It's just a bit more natural, and that can really help you, I reckon. But overall, as you can see, the anatomy, I didn't really change it much. I think you've nailed it pretty much spot on. That bicep was probably the only issue. And yeah, so I think you're pretty right. And that hand as well. See that hand there? So that one's a bit squished in and a bit squished up. So I just kind of brought it out a bit more so it feels a bit more natural. Apart from that, I think it's awesome. I'd probably also add in your final, I really dug these electric, like the electric wrapping around his body and doing all that cool stuff. I think that would have really been cool on your piece as well, to have all that electric coming through. I do like these perspective lines, but yeah. And probably the only other thing is if you're going to put that logo there, I would have separated it from his hand somehow, because it kind of looks like he's holding onto the F, if you know what I mean. So that's the only other thing there. Apart from that, I think the only other thing that could benefit your work is when you're doing your lines. I think it's your line work could just do with a bit more tidying up and a little bit more confidence. So just on these edges, I'd like to see it bolder. So bolder around the outsides. This is, sorry, my line work was real rough. That's just sketched in. Bolder on the outsides, and any details on the inside, especially like this shoulder one, things like that. That probably wouldn't be there anyway because we're going to simplify it. And these ones, see this one here? Very thick, very bold. You probably shouldn't do that. It'd just be super thin if you wanted to. I would thin them out a lot more, like this. And you'll get a much nicer looking piece of art in the end. And that way, you keep all your bold ones on the outside like you've got it there, but then just have thinner ones on the inside. So try and go a bit thinner with all those kind of details, especially like these ones here, you know? You don't need all that extra thickness there. That's not necessary at all. So yeah, like that. So before, so that's what was before and after. So before and after. Definitely thin them out, but keep these. Keep the thicker ones on the outside. Holds it all together. It really holds your character together. But on the inside, thin it out a little bit. Make them lines a little bit more finer. And in the end, you're going to have a really nice looking character. If you can add that to your technique, take it on board, you'll just excel and you'll move forward a lot more. So yeah, that's my advice for this one. And yeah, I hope that helps. Great work. I love it, Brett. You're doing really awesome work. Apex, here we go. I love your stuff. So this is really cool. You've done so this is 2017, and I love seeing like these ones that have simplified. You've got this one that you did years ago, and it's just a very simple drawing, and then you've gone and done this to it. I love that kind of stuff. I think that is so cool. So that's a big jump and a big transformation. So, and look at this new one. This is insane. I love that monster and all that detail going up there. The line work's really good too. It just needs a little tidying, but from zoomed out, looks great. Looks great. And I especially like how you've got the blood with no line work on it. I actually kind of like that. That looks really good. The way it kind of dribbles over the character. So yeah, great comparison. All right, let's dive into a bit of a critique. Now this guy is really cool. I like the look, and I think this is great. You know, the usual thing I always say is try and make your character kind of pop a bit more. So this brown leg is merging too much with that brown, the rocks in the back there. So I'd probably do, you know, a bit more of a glow behind him would have really helped, I reckon. Kind of like this. And you're really going to, especially even with that monster, a little bit of a glow behind it, make it stand out a little bit more. And just behind his leg, so especially this leg here, and I think you'd be right. So yeah, it's something like that. So that's before, that's after. So before, after. Yeah, just, you see what I mean? It just kind of helps him lift off a little bit more. That's only a subtle change. The other thing I'd probably say is let's just fix up a couple of anatomy things. I think the only thing I'd say about yours is sometimes you've got those jagged. I used to do this as well when I was starting off, but the lines are just they're a bit too jagged, like in here in the crutch bit and stuff. You know, just needs to have a little bit more of a bit more flow or something like that. So try and structure your characters like where the crutch is, and we'll structure that a little bit so we can see what we're doing. And then you'll have this leg here. I know he's a chunky guy and he's very chunky, but it's still just a little too thick for this guy. So I'd probably have it more like that, and then a bit more smoothness around the anatomy parts there. So you can have a bit of a scrunch there, and the knee, and then we'll have the knee bone pokes out, and then you'll have the meat kind of coming off it, and then something like that, I reckon. So when we get to this leg, I think it'd be nice to see a little bit more structure in the anatomy part of it. So we'll just go like a bit of a fold up there, and then have it just join with the crutch there like that, and this part here as well. And I think the only other thing would be, because he's got these pants on, let's just make them a little bit more baggy, so you can put some, you know, some rough edges on, a couple of creases like this, you know, have some creases in the pants, and you'll have this kind of lift here, so a bit of a lift where the pants will lift up into the crutch, that kind of thing. And I think that'd really help. Let's make it a little bit more baggy there around the leg. So we just need to make those pants look a little bit more like like that. So, and then you just need a bigger calf muscle, so that out there, and have a bit more form in the leg, so it's like this. And then the kneecap can kind of go around like this, I reckon. I'd probably do a bigger chest, so I'd probably have the chest probably here, and then around. But there we go. There's just a few anatomy fixes. So when you get to the biceps here, one of the main things I've noticed is the forearm is kind of tucking over the bicep, but you actually want it the other way around. You want the bicep to dip down and push into the forearm, because the forearm is actually going to be here. That bit you're trying to do is actually more like there. So it's not as visible though. It's just kind of like up there, and then you'll have the bicep kind of wrap around. So have your bicep kind of dipping in, and then that'll be fine. It's the same over here. This line shouldn't be going up there. You would probably have it the other way if anything. So you'd have it that way if anything, and then the muscle kind of coming down, and then so that line there is going to merge and come out here where the elbow pokes out, because it's a bone. You got to think of it like a bone. So that corner, and then the bone will flow through right through the forearm, and that's good. I really like your hands. You've done a good job of them hands there. So that's kind of how I would do the legs there. Whereas before, everything's kind of a little bit too squared off, you see? And now it's just a little bit, just a bit smoother and a little bit more, just anatomy kind of structure. And the only other thing here I've just done is fix the head. So it's only subtle, but it makes all the difference. So that's your head previous. And I just thought it was just a little bit too front on, and it's a little bit too perfectly centered. So I've kind of off-centered it just a little bit, gave it a little tilt, and I've made it so it's got a little bit of perspective to it. So this side is a little bit bulged out, that side's going to be a little bit further back. And what that does is it's more natural. It's just, he's still looking at us, but he's still turning his head, but it's just not so perfect. So that's before, and that's after. So before and after. And I'll show you zoomed out, because it makes all the difference. So that's after. So that's what you had before and after. And it's only subtle, but yeah, it makes all the difference. But yeah, apart from that and those fixes, you've got a really good picture. And just that back glow as well. So yeah, awesome work, mate. I love that. And I think you've done a great job. Next up is Lily's submission. This is really cool. I like the zombie mermaid look. Check it out. So you got the before. But yeah, and look at your new one. This is a really good comparison. This almost has more of a cartoony look with the, you know, the bigger head, bigger eyes and stuff. You've got more realistic proportions here, more comic-like. And I really like the, I just like the proportions, the anatomy and stuff like that. So it's really cool to see. Your line work's really, it's got some nice flow in it as well. So you should be really proud of that. Some nice flow. Looks really good. I'd love to see this coloured someday. I think that's a great idea. So if we just jump into a bit of a critique, I think all we need to do with them lines is to we've got to make some consistency with them. So what I mean is, just on the outside, I'd like to see it more held together. So what I've done is I've just cut out your character. So I've just cut around the outside of it. And I'm just going to add a stroke on the outside. And I'll show you what I mean about just some consistency. So I won't make it too thick. but it'd be really nice to see it held together a little bit more. Maybe I'll set it to about 3, I think, for now. So I'll just do that. So some bolder lines that really pull it all together, make it, it doesn't have to be that bold, but this is just for just to show you. So if I just show you without those outlines I just made, just like here, see that section of the shoulder? It's really thin. So see under the armpit here with the lines, it's actually going thinner, and it's like almost pencil thin up there, but it's nice and bold here. I'd actually go the other way. I'd go darker as it gets to darker spots of the body. So, if you're going to go under an armpit, I'd probably actually go bolder and then under the arm down like that. And that's a really nice way to keep the flow looking nice. Same with that shoulder. So, have that going up and wrapping around, just to keep it all held together more. So, it's just not consistent enough. Even the hand here, if you want that to pop out more, not that bold, but it's more like this, And if you just went around that whole hand, and you've got these really nice thinner details on the inside, but on the outside, keep it nice and thick. See, that's why I went round and I just added those extra thicker lines there. So, so that's kind of what I'd like to see. So a bit more consistency, especially down here near the back fin. So I'd love to see it just kind of a little thicker. So there we go. So I've just thickened up that trident as well. So see how much nicer it can look if you just have a little bit more, just some thicker lines, hold it together more, because when it goes super thin like that, it can get a bit lost. So you really want to get some stronger line work. I think that's probably what you need. You've got the really nice flow that you've been doing. Look at this, like you've been doing a great job in that nice flow. But I would probably go nice, stronger outlines around the outside, and keep all your nice fine ones for the inside. Like all these fine little details that you're starting to do, that's all for the inside, and you'll have a really nice character. So I think it's fantastic. You're doing a great job. Like I said before with the armpit thing, so when you get into darker areas of the body where, it might naturally be shaded a bit more, you can go thicker. Do the same for like under the chin. So, and that's just going to help that pop out. So a bit more like that, see? So without and then with. So I'll do it again. So without and then with. So by really just pulling in the line work on the outside a bit more, like making it bolder, and yeah, keep all your nice fine ones inside, you're going to have a really nice done character. Like it's all inked really well. So yeah, but apart from that, I'd say this back arm is probably just a little bit too thin. So I'd like to see that. So you've got these bones, so I'd like to see them like that. So I'd even go more like that. So that's what you had before. You see it just kind of gets a bit thin down here, and it doesn't look like it connects too well, like it's just hanging on. I'd like to see it a little bit more like that, a little bit more held together, a bit more stronger joints that are joining. So that's before and that's after. And yeah, but apart from that, so that line work that you had just on the outside, I'd like to see it held together more. It doesn't have to go that super bold. If I like it. I personally like that thickness, but you don't have. Yours was good, apart from the inconsistency. That's all I was trying to say. It's just like you got thicker here, but then it's a bit too thin there. But yeah, a good way to do it. This is just a good way to display it. Is to show you some nice strong outlines on the outside. Okay, and the arm there as well. So. That's really good. I like the composition. I think she looks creepy. It looks great. The only other thing I would probably say is this hand is just a bit too big. So there we go. I've just fixed that hand a bit. So it was just a bit big before. That's what it was before. That's what it is now. So I just shrunk it down just a little bit more. It was just that hand. But everything else is looking absolutely awesome. It's looking great. You could even, if you wanted to, you could add extra little details. So you've got the skin ripped here. Keep showing that skin going around. Like you could even just keep tucking that under. Have some skin kind of out like this. And put some details in, like even some more holes where it's been ripped. And that's a good way to do it. And even fill in these areas that are going to be, unless you're going to fill them in with like a red, but do some of that black shading to really show that that's pretty deep in there and gnarly, you know. If you really want to try and work on inks, that's a good way to do it. Try and play around with some heavy shadows as well. Not necessarily on the outside where it's softer, but when you get on the inside here, you can actually make some dark, like make this completely black here, even on the inside of it. And you don't have to do it on every one of them, just most. And that'll show that there's like, even get rid of this. I would have liked to see that collarbone, I think. I think that would have been really nice to see. Just a thinner detail, just nice and fine. And then maybe have that neck muscle that's kind of pulls to show that her neck's turning kind of thing, you know what I mean? But yeah, like I said before, anything that's like got an undershadow, maybe you can make thicker inks under this shell to show that it's kind of just a bit shadier, like it's more shadowy underneath it. But when you're up the top, keep it thin like that. That's nice. That's how you can add some finesse to your line work. Because you're so close to it, I think you're doing great. This line work's really good as it is, but if you want to really take it up another level, add that kind of stuff. You see what I mean? See how it's a little thicker underneath where it might be a bit more shadowy, but on top you can keep it really nice and thin. That's finesse. That's how you can really do some nice line work. So even in the mouth here, like you've got your tongue, so you can start to add some heavy blacks to your artwork, and that'll really up the level a bit more. So there you go, Lily. I reckon that's going to help. Let's show you. So that's before and after. So line work. So before, after. That's all you need to do. You're so close. So if you just add some nice, just hold it together a bit more, like I said, and add some more darker, like more confident, darker black lines in here, I think you'll be right. And good to go. So yeah, not many anatomy issues either. So it's awesome work. I love this. I think it's great. And yeah, great to see. So thanks for that, Lily. I think that's a great submission. Good comparison too. So thanks. Next is Cyril, and we got this Hulk picture here. So check this out. This is 2013, and that's that one there. And then you've got today. So look at you now. You're really doing a much better job. I like this. You got this style that's going on, very well held together, and you know, a lot more confidence as well. I mean, here you had no line work at all, zilch, none. So just soft shading. You know, it's almost kind of glowing in a way. It's very, very soft. I can tell you're probably trying to go for like a realistic look, you know, like a rendering, almost like a 3D character kind of look there. But now I much prefer the cartoony kind of style. Like, look at this. So you've done a great job on this. I like the pose, very angry, very awesome. So yeah, let's dive into a critique though. The first thing I can tell is just I'd like to see a better silhouette. And what I mean is we don't want things touching and overlapping here because you'll have a much better, more impactful striking pose if you just don't let these bits touch. See that? Those bits are overlapping on the knee and the legs. So let's change that up, and I'll show you some other ways that we can fix this as well. There we go. So something a bit like this. So before, you know, you've got yours crossed over, and then after, spread them out a bit more, have them out, so you can see there's nothing. If that was a silhouette, see, as a silhouette, it's kind of separating those really makes it more striking and a more attractive kind of image. So try and avoid crossing over like that if you want to, if you're going for a stronger pose. And yeah, overall you can see the anatomy here. I think his waist in yours is just a little too thin for Hulk. So down here, a little bit too thin. See, I've just thickened mine up a bit, so that's kind of how it should be there. So yeah, just a bit too thin in the waist. Spread them arms out a little bit more. And I think mixing it up between a fist and an open hand really works well for Hulk as well. One of each. And the legs here are a little bit off as well. So it's just more that one pointing down a little bit too much. So I kind of straightened it out and pushed it back more. And this one here, you need that kind of join in there a little bit more. Just draw the crutch in, I'd say. Because he's so muscular, like every muscle in his body is going to be bulging and stuff. So not so much cloth, a little bit more muscle tone and things like that. The face is looking good, so I didn't really change that too much. And that yours is good. I think it's just your line work there's a couple of things here that need to be fixed. So this muscle here, because it's actually this muscle up here, that's the one that was coming down. It actually doesn't really need to come down and fold like this. That's not really what we need to do. You can even just leave it just like that, and then have a bit of a shoulder muscle here that can resemble that it's being joined by that muscle. Same with this muscle here. I wouldn't show that too much either. If it was just a bit of shading maybe, because I get that that's probably just one of those muscles, but what you need to do is just hold that shoulder muscle in a bit tighter here. And then have it come up to the collarbone and then that. So that's kind of how I would do yours. You can even have that curl up around it a little bit more if you want to. And then I always like to have that kind of shading that goes up there. So if I just hide that, so that's what you had before. And that's now. So we really just need to kind of work out, because it's really hard to see what muscle is where there. So we need to kind of get the shoulder. So there's the shoulder, pec, collarbone needs to be nice and strong. So the collarbone's not there much there. So we need to make sure that's there. And yeah, that muscle up the top, that line, doesn't need to be there. So that's just that big neck muscle up there, because he's hulked out. So yeah, that's about it there. So I hope that helps understand like how we could improve on this and a couple of fixes there. I really like how you've got these torn bits like wrapping over and stretching around his leg there. They're really cool. That's awesome. So yeah, awesome work there. I love it. Nice work, Cyril. Next up, we've got Abby. I always love seeing your progress, Abby. Yeah, this is cool. I like this. Check out the before. So you've got it's more of a pencil sketch, this one. And then look at this. Look at this new one. Nice and clean and crisp. Really, really good. And you know what I love? Look at these hands. You have done a great job. I'm so proud of you. Look at this. Those hands are looking great. I mean, check out how far you've come. Look at this one. This is from your Bane picture. And the hand there. Look at that. And then look at this one. Look how much better your hands are. So that's a big improvement already. So that's great to see. Cool character too. I'm not sure who it is, but is this a made up one? Have you created this character? Really cool though. Let's dive into a critique then. I'd probably just fix these feet, I think, in the way of, like, they're mostly right. I'm not sure if it's intentional, but it seems that this character is standing on their tippy toes kind of thing, you know, like pointing up. So I don't know if we bring that down, and we'll just have it so it looks a bit more natural, like they're just resting. See, so something more like that one there. So that's before, and then that's after. So before and after. So yeah, you can see the difference there, and that's all right. I think the pose is pretty good. I think it just needs a little bit more clench in the fists. That's all. The anatomy is spot on with them. There's no problem there. I just think that they just need a little bit more clench, a little bit more like squeezed together kind of thing. So do you see what I mean? So I'll just zoom in. So that's what it was. That's what it is now. So just a bit more clench, you know? They're just a bit loosely closed at the moment. So if we just tighten them up like that, perfect. And that'll just show a bit more, because it looks like the person's got their hand kind of, you know, out to the side as if like powerful, you know, like got that strong kind of hold. Showing strength, which is really cool. So you want to make sure that these fists are just nice and clenched. And you know what? I like your line work. Your line work's good. You're definitely improving. You've been doing all those nice thin little details on the inside, and then nice bolder ones on the outside. just needs to have a little bit more smoothness through. See, like this part here, things like that, a little bit bumpy, so it can get a little bit bumpy there, but if it's just a little bit more, little bit smoother and a bit continuous, that'd be great, I reckon. And I think the next step for you would honestly be, like, because I haven't got much more to say about this anatomy-wise or structure. I think that's great. But the next step for you, I think, would be to up your shading. I would love to see you try and do a little bit more shading on your characters. Under here should be definitely a bit more, you should have some really dark shading under there. Something like that. So, just give it a little bit more shading. But I'd like to see you put it a little bit more through the character as well. Let's start doing that. I think your character would definitely benefit from adding a little bit more shading. Now, I think your style, I'm just trying to help you with a bit of a style choice. Your style definitely would benefit from lighter shadows, nothing too dark and harsh. So what I want to see is a bit more like this. Let's try and get you to that next level, and I want to see a little bit more shading like this. Now I'm using a hard brush, so there's no gradient there, there's no gradual kind of thing. See, it's literally just a hard brush. So I'd love to see you do a bit more of that. Now just try and think of where the shadow would belong. So I'm just doing it around the inside there, but I'm treating it more like the sun is kind of pointing down that way, okay? From the front though. See, just like that. And so that's what it was before, and that's what it is now, just with a bit of shading. And that's just with a hard brush, and I've just chosen where I want some shading to go. It's very light shading. You could even lighten it up even more if you want to, but I want to see a little bit more contrast. I think that's great. So I'd love to see you try and just go that next level. See, like where the coat goes over the leg, little things like that. You only have to do one little, just simple shading up the leg, just so it's got a bit more contouring, and you can actually, definition in your character is going to start getting some rendering. I think that's great. Just because, before it's just a bit too flat, just the flat colors. So let's try and bring it to life a little bit more. I'd love to see you do a bit more of that. And I think that's really going to help you. So awesome stuff, Abby. I always love seeing you progress and get better. So yeah, all right, keep it up. I can't wait to see some more. And last today we have Tim Ross, and he has done this. It's not actually really a comparison. He mentioned that he didn't really have any of his old art files, but he did find this sketch which he thought he would turn into a full kind of comic panel piece. You've got this crazy scene going on, and then leaping through it and attacking this guy, absolutely cutting him in half. And then you got the final shot there. So that's really cool. I love that. That's crazy. Absolutely insane. So yeah, great use of an old character and an old pose. It's a little different than obviously, I think Tim mentioned he knew that it wasn't the same as what we've asked for this month, but that's okay. I'm happy to still critique it. So I think this is really cool. I can see that you've added a lot more shading. You've actually chosen an entirely different light source for this character. So that's good to see. And yeah, because you've got it underlit here from the bottom up, whereas this one's lit from the top down. So it's good to see you've chosen to do a whole different light source, which works really well. You've even got the lightning strike kind of shining onto the back of the body and the back of the leg there. So that's really cool to see. Even little things like this chain, you've chosen to have it red here so it stands out more. That's a good choice. That's a good artistic choice, because if it was black, it would probably hide or blend with all this here. So yeah, that's a good choice. And I think you've done really well there. That's awesome. So the piece overall, I think it's great, and there's not too much I could say about it. I think the only thing that your style could benefit from for sure is just a different brush choice. So I can see that you're using, I don't know if you're using Procreate or if it's anything like that. The brush choice is just a little sketchy for me. It's just a personal opinion though, don't worry. But I think that if you want to make your work stand out more, I would choose like a nice hard sharp brush that's an ink pen kind of one, and you'd really benefit. I reckon you'd do well with that. So because your art style is so cool, you got a really good sense of anatomy and structure and everything. So I'd love to see that. You see what I mean? Just down here with that brush that you choose, it just comes across a little bit too sketchy and a bit rough. Whereas I'd love to see it with clean, sharp lines. It'd be really cool. Now, when it comes to anatomy and stuff like that, I think I'll use this pose here. And there's not too much I could really say anatomy-wise. I mean, I was going to say about the legs, but I think they work really well. I think the legs work really well. You can see the calf there, nice and clear. I'd probably just make it a little more obvious, I reckon. So what you would do is, because you want to make it read better with that bend there. So with that back leg, I just kind of gave it a little bit more of a sharper kind of silhouette, like a clearer silhouette. Here it's just a little bit too rounded or blurred, where it doesn't read as well. So what I've done is I've come down and I've given it more of a sharper kind of, not too pointy or anything like that, but you can clearly see the toe of the foot, and then coming up you got the ankle, and then all of that. So that's what it was before, and that's what it is now. If I zoom out and show you, so before and then after, so just a clearer kind of silhouette would help. I think that'll help a lot. You could probably do the same for that foot there. These ones up here, this is all good. I love this pose. I think it's unreal. Now she's a really cool character. I love all the proportions. Yep, you got the shoulder in there. That's great. I know she's a female, so I probably wouldn't define it too much. You want to keep it still a little, unless she's supposed to be super ripped. But I think that just a little bit more sharper lines would be great, I reckon. Just clearer. It's the brush type that you're choosing. I think it just comes across a bit too soft and sketchy. So I'd love to see them cleaned up a little bit. So I'll just try and tidy up them edges. See now, just this arm here, just around, around that arm, I've cleaned up the lines. I'll even do this outside bit here, and you can just see the difference. So if I make it just by using a different brush, nice and clean and crisp, nice and clear, I think that'd be a really good way to go for your work. And then you can kind of compare it, like the face compared to this. So it's almost like putting your work in like Blu-ray quality, like 1080p, like 4K or whatever. You're super sharp compared to this one here. So it's just a little bit downgraded when using that brush style and stuff like that. So I think you should definitely try and attempt something like that. Apart from that, I think that's just the shading style as well is just a little bit too soft. Like it's blurred. It's almost like a blurred shading style, which is good and it works. Still looks really nice, but I'd like to see it a little sharper. You don't have to go super cell shaded or anything like that, but even if it's just in some areas, like I'll try and do this arm a little bit more, and I think it'd really just look awesome on your stuff. Just cleaning some parts up just a little bit more, See, just here on this other arm, I've just kind of sharpened it up a little bit more. So now it looks like a little bit more defined, the rendering. So that's before and that's after. So before and after. So you can definitely see, especially around this area here, the rendering is now a little clearer, a little sharper, a little more defined. So I think that'd really, really help for your work. And when you get to areas like this with the hair and things, you could even lighten that up a bit more, I reckon. Add a little bit more of a hair rendering, and make these little cornrow things stand out. The dreadlocks, I should say, sorry. All right, and then I'm going to get the eraser and I'm just going to tone it back down. Just fade this back in, blend it so it looks a bit better, and you'll just see what it's going to do to the hair. So do you see what I mean? Look at that. So that's before the hair and that's after. So before and after. So now it's just got a bit more lift and a bit more render. It's like popping out now. It actually makes your character, stand out a little bit more, and it makes that hair separate from all this same dark colors in the back too. So it might help lift it out a little bit more. So really, that's all it is. Your artwork is insanely good. You're doing it you got such a good thing going. So love it. Keep it up, and I hope those tips help as well, Tim. I think that's great. So, and this piece is awesome. Well done on that. Absolutely insane. Alright everyone, that's it for the Draw It Again challenge. I think we had some absolutely awesome submissions. I mean, check these out. Absolutely insane. So look at this comparison. I love that compared to that. So it's definitely a really good challenge to help you improve and, to see how far you've come as well. So it's a really great way to really see how far you're coming and improving as an artist. So it's even fun to just try out in general. You don't have to do it obviously as the challenge. You can just do it for fun. So hope you guys got a kick out of that one. I mean, look at this. Look at Logan. That's unreal. And I wouldn't mind trying one myself one day. I think I'm going to try and do one of these challenges with one of my old pieces. So we're going to do this again. I'm going to do this in a year's time. So we'll do it again. It's going to be one of those regular ones. I love that one. That was insane. And all right, everyone. I hope you got a kick out of that. And I look forward to next month's challenge, which will be character design and character concepts kind of thing. So you get to create your own character. So that's the next challenge, which I'm really looking forward to seeing as well. So all right, everyone. Thanks so much for watching, and I look forward to the next one. See you then.